So, when you think about all of those things, you got a lot of moving parts going on in this universe here, a lot of moving parts going on in this country, and a lot of moving parts going on in the globe, because of globalism and the global trade and the interdependence of all these nations at this point now financially, where, it's amazing that we're in all these wars that we're in because of a lot of them. It's just there's a lot of disincentivized ways to avoid war, because it's like, well, we have this economic relationship with them and we're making this much money. And if we get in a war with them, then we're not making this money. And, there's a lot of reasons now that we've made it where it's not profitable to be in a war. And yet we still find ourselves in these wars because it's profitable for some people to be in wars. But as a society, it's not profitable for us to be in a war at all.
No.
We always have money for that. We always have money to drop bombs. We never have money to build our own roads or to help students. The second you start talking about student loans, or whatever, well, how are you going to pay for that? Well, how did we just green light another $40 billion for the military?
How did we bail out Wall Street whenever that happened?
Yes, we bailed out Wall Street. No one went to jail. I talked about this in my last solo podcast, which I have not released as of today, but I'm going to try to release it tomorrow. But I literally talk about that. I'm like, no one went to jail, dude. And if this was a movie, you would be like, oh, fuck these motherfuckers. Let's kill them.
They did make a movie. It's called The Big Short.
Yes, exactly. But you know what I'm saying. The premise is that if you were to just see this from the outside and not think about it as your own country, but just watching it as a movie or some other outside thing, you'd be looking at that oh yeah, they should go to jail. Yeah. And they didn't. And no one did. And guess what they got? They got bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
It's fucked. And this is something that we actually talked about on our trip.
We talked about on the most recent one. We talked about how we would structure society, different problems that would need to happen if we implemented all of the stuff, or not problems that needed to happen, but problems that would arise and solutions for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good conversation.
It was a good conversation. Yeah. And this one has been too, man. I didn't mean to monopolize the political part here.
It's okay.
But yeah, I know it's been a little bit, so I'll probably call it here.
Oop.
But this has been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And
happy to come back. We didn't get into my most recent trip, which we can do, because I actually wanted to have a few more under my belt anyway before coming back. So maybe after a few.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe maybe a little journey into some special spaces, some interesting hyperspace dimension.
Yeah.
Cool. So Daniel, thanks again for coming on, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. And thanks for pushing back, because you got to push back on me on this stuff. I know I'm a radical when it comes to
I don't think you're that radical.
I'm not actually radical in what I believe in, but I am radical in my conviction, where no, I'm not going to take another milquetoast liberal. I'm not going to take another establishment neoliberal shill candidate. I'm just not going to take that. And I think too many people are still willing to accept that when they've seen that the result of that and those policies was Trump. That's the result. The result of Obama not being actually liberal and mostly continuing Bush's policies and codifying them and solidifying them has caused people to then vote for Trump, because they're like, well, fuck, that didn't work. So I'm still suffering here in this city, and I'm still, my factory just closed and all this other stuff. And so they're thinking, and Trump's not their savior. Trump's not actually going to fix their problems, but he seemed like something different to them, And too many people want to just throw it under, well, Hillary was a woman, so they didn't want to vote for her because of a woman. I'm like, maybe fucking 5% of voters, that's their thing. But I don't put Elizabeth Warren there and tell me the same thing happens. It's not going to, because she's not as bad of a candidate. Right. So I guess for me, I think they want the easy explanation. Oh, they're just all racist. They're just all misogynist. They're just all this. That's not it.
Yeah.
That's not it. And everyone who is a racist and a misogynist, of course, yeah, they're all going to be on Trump's side. But that's not that big of a percentage of the country. I really don't think it is.
Really?
And I think the majority of people hate Trump, but they didn't vote. And why didn't they vote? Because you put up a candidate that kind of sucked and made them not super motivated to go vote. But if you put up a candidate like Bernie and they start hearing his platform, he's one of the candidates where the more he talks, the more he's liked.
Yeah.
You can't say that about Biden. The more he talks, the more he's not liked.
He gets laughed at.
He literally gets laughed at. He fucking bled from his eye from the climate town hall.
That one.
Dude, it's bad. And he also did terrible in the town hall. So listen to his answers compared to Elizabeth Warren did great.
Yeah.
And Bernie obviously did awesome. I mean, come on, that's his platform, Yeah. So you just got to pay attention to those things. And anybody who's really paying attention, don't just go with the, oh, well, it seems like that's a safe bet, so I'll go with it. Like, no, that's the wrong thinking. You're already thinking wrong. And you're also already being programmed by the fucking television where they're telling you which candidate they want you to vote for. You know, they tried to push Pete Buttigieg on everybody. I'm like, well, luckily that didn't fucking work. And he's got like 2% support, or, 4% or whatever. You know, he's not going to make it. It's a three-way tie at this point. And mark my words, I'm fucking calling it right now. It's going to be between Biden, Warren, and Sanders. And in my opinion, it's really between Sanders and Warren. I don't think Biden actually has the legs to continue to go. And I hope that it continues to tank so that people realize he's not the most electable, because when you actually look at most electability, it really looks better for Sanders and Warren in terms of that. Yeah. And I would argue that they're a super team if they're together.
Yeah, I think that'd be a dream team.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you ask any liberal, hey, what would be would you be cool with Sanders and Warren? It's like all the people who are like, oh, Bernie's too old. They'd be like, well, at least Warren's there. You know what I mean? Like, so you can get the people, because they don't actually overlap. And that was something that I thought was really interesting before we fully wrap this up, was that the difference between the candidates, how I said, like very white, very college educated, that's Warren. If they said that their candidate was out, if Warren was out, they said that they would go to Kamala
Harris?
Yes. And then if Bernie was out, they'd go to Biden or something. I forgot what it was, but it was like you'd be surprised at who they diverted to. Yeah. Where it was like, oh, I mean, there's overlap between them, but there's more differences than you'd realize in terms of who each one appeals to, which is why them together covers the whole gambit. You know, you get the conviction of Bernie and the movement of Bernie, and then you can get the policy wonk and the super educated people and the people who want to try to protect some elements of the status quo that would vote for Warren. Yeah. You know, I think you get the best of both worlds. So the Democratic Party would be really stupid to not team them up together. Yeah. But just know that the Democratic Party hates Bernie. And so the only way they would ever do that is if Bernie won the nomination against all odds and against their rigging. And then they're like, well, please give us Warren. And then he would take Warren.
But I feel like he won. Basically, he had like the popular vote. Like Bernie was the one that people wanted when it was between him and Hillary.
Yes, of course it was.
The Democratic Party thought that Hillary should have gotten it, so she got it.
Yes, they anointed her before any votes were ever cast. Yeah, but luckily they didn't get rid of superdelegates, but they've at least made it so that they can't put in their votes yet to skew because the thing is if people believe a candidate's going to win, then they just go with it. They're like, I'm not going to fight that. They think that they're going to win. Whatever. You know, and that's a stupid way of thinking, but that is how people vote. You know, so they want to be in the in crowd. You know, oh, I want to be on the team that knew who was going to win, so I'm going to just go with the people who all think it's going to win. You know. Yeah. And as we learned from the last one, we didn't know shit. Cool. Well, sorry to all the liberals who are really mad at me right now for saying I wouldn't vote for Biden. But as long as the establishment is smart and doesn't keep propping up his campaign and realizes that he won't win, then we shouldn't have any problems, guys. Okay.
We'll have another podcast after the election.
After the election, we'll talk about it. Talk about it. Okay, cool. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Peace.